Nintendo has always been a threat to PlayStation. The Switch was a competitor to not only the PlayStation 4, but to the PlayStation 5, and it dominated both the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. And they don't even have the third-party support that the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 has, and yet they still beat them. Still outsold both of them combined. So, a lot of people for the past, I don't know how many years, I guess ever since the Switch came out, or ever since the Switch started outselling both the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5, people have been repeating this narrative, that really stupid narrative that Nintendo is not competing with PlayStation. And then they're not in competition with PlayStation. You know, the Switch isn't competing with the PS5. They're doing their own thing. They're doing their own thing, right? And what exactly is that? Because last I checked, both of them are making video games. Both of them are selling video game hardware. In this case, Nintendo with the Switch and PlayStation with the PlayStation 5. So exactly how is Nintendo doing their own thing, quote unquote? Oh, well, you know, the Nintendo Switch, it's a hybrid. You know, it's a handheld, and it's a, and you could dock it to play it like a home console, but it's not really a home console, because all you're doing is just, you know, docking it and, you know, transferring the screen to the television or whatever. Very fucking stupid argument. Weak ass argument. They also have another argument that, well, because the Switch is underpowered, doesn't have as much power as a PlayStation 5, it's not actually competing with PlayStation 5. It's not competing with Xbox, right? This is all bullshit. This has been some of the biggest horse shit that these losers have been saying for the past however many years. And the only reason they're saying that is because the Switch is kicking PlayStation 5's ass. It kicked PlayStation 4's ass. It's been outselling both of those PlayStation consoles by a large margin, mind you. And their video games, their exclusive, their IP, their intellectual property sells way more than every single PlayStation IP. Way more. It's not even close. Alright? Not even close. The only thing that sells well on PlayStation consoles is third-party games. But gamers, whether they're PlayStation fagboys or they're just these, you know, stupid asses who they play every console, but they seem to want to give PlayStation the benefit of the doubt all the time because they know they have a legion of fangirls behind them, so they just want to cater to them. There's always these idiots, there's always these stupid asses in the gaming community that come up with these fucking dumb rules. It's like, who makes these stupid rules that, you know, Nintendo is not competing with them because their system, they chose a different strategy, right? So PlayStation and Xbox, they got involved in this really dumb graphical horse race, right? The graphical rat race, I should say. This rat race for power. Both been competing to have the most powerful hardware and the best graphics and everything like that. And Nintendo decided, we're not going to do that. That's stupid. Making video games that are fun is all that really matters. That's what's really important here. Not having the best graphics. So we're going to make an underpowered system. It's going to be very fun. We're going to focus more on innovation. We're going to make great video games for our hardware, and it's going to sell very well. While you idiots are losing money on every system that you're selling because you made it too damn powerful, but you also have to make it affordable for the gamers. And as a result, both Xbox and PlayStation have been doing horrible. PlayStation hasn't been making any games lately. They hadn't been producing that much. Their output has been abysmal, to say the least. Xbox has been making a lot of games, but Phil Spencer, the fucking cuck that he is, decided to sell out, decided to start going third party. So now the Xbox hardware is just going down the toilet. The sales are just dropping. They are just dropping, and the sales of their units are very pathetic. So Nintendo, because they did things differently, people are stupid enough to say that means they're not competing. That is the dumbest thing ever. When you're competing with other people, you do things differently in order to have an edge. Okay? This should just be basic common sense. This should just be basic common sense. You do things differently to have an edge over the competition. You don't just do the same shit that they do and just hope for the best. That doesn't make any sense. You know, in every area of life, in every, you know, business out there, you know, certain businesses will do things differently to get an edge over the competition, all right? McDonald's, Whataburger, whatever, they don't make the exact same hamburgers. They don't have the exact same prices and deals. They don't have the exact same loyalty, the membership programs or whatever. They always do something different. They always do something different. It's the same in combat sports, you know? Certain fighters will focus on, you know, developing better kicks, while other ones will focus more on their wrestling, their ground game. Some will try to master two different arts. Some will try to be just well-rounded and not really try to do anything unique. They just pretty much stick with kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, and that's it. And those are the fighters that typically suck, in my opinion. Those are the ones that don't have longevity. Those are the ones that they might be exciting sometimes, but they also lose a lot because they're not doing anything different than their opponents. Or they're just kind of a jack of all trades. So you know what? You always have to do things differently than your competitors to get an edge over them, to beat them. It just makes no sense to just, you know, chase them in a race that they already have a head start in. And they might be, you know, running the wrong race anyways. The race for power was a stupid race to begin with. So Nintendo has always been competing with Sony, and you still have dumbasses trying to deny that. Even now, with the Switch 2 coming out and the Switch 2 having a lot of power, they're still trying to say, well, Nintendo's in their own lane, they're not competing. Yes, they are. And you know what? The fact that PlayStation is now giving a survey, having their own customers take a survey, and it's all about the Switch 2. What are your thoughts on the Switch 2? Do you plan on buying it? Do you like the prices? What do you think of the games? Whatever. Kind of shows you that they're very worried about the Switch 2, and they should be. And you know what? The Switch 2 the pre-orders for the Switch 2 have already been selling out all across the world, except for here in the US, where we still gotta wait. We still gotta wait and see if they can get this tariff situation resolved with the White House. And hopefully Donald Trump pulls his head out his ass and he, you know, resolves it. All right. Hopefully Donald Trump does the right thing, and, you know, that'll make a lot of gamers happy, but I'm sure there's still going to be, you know, libtard, stupid-ass Democrat gamers who are going to, you know, not give him any credit or anything, but that's a different topic anyways. Regardless, the Switch 2 has PlayStation worried. It has a lot of stupid Xbox dorks worried. So, you know, PlayStation fans, you know, they're having a lot of fake outrage towards the Switch 2, and it's primarily because they're threatened by it. But unfortunately, so are Xbox fans who, you know, they've been losing for the past couple years. They've been just losing, and they've taken the biggest L out of everyone because thanks to Phil Spencer just selling out. So Switch 2 is going to pretty much put an end to the Xbox and the PlayStation I believe that because they're already getting the full third-party support and they're going to have the exclusivity as well. And I'm really, really hoping that Nintendo continues to pump out games of their own. They need to do that. They better not take their foot off the gas. They better not relax and decide, okay, we don't have, I mean, I don't think they would. It makes no sense. People need jobs. They have game developers there. They can't just sit around and not do anything. But at the same time, I hope they don't just get lazy with their creativity. They need to continue making and developing, AAA games. And they need to continue down this path of where they're going. It seems like they're just, making... It seems like Breath of the Wild has set a standard when it comes to video games, when it comes to Nintendo video games. And ever since then, every IP, every game Nintendo's been putting out, for the most part, the vast majority of them, okay? They have been these big open world experiences. They have been just these... You got Mario Kart World, for example, I think we're getting a Mario Kart World. Why? Because Breath of the Wild has set that new standard. So hopefully Nintendo continues to do this, and if they do, it's game over for both Xbox and PlayStation. Xbox has already pretty much lost, those idiots. They're working on a handheld, but they pretty much lost. They have no exclusives anymore. They're done. No one wants them. No one cares about them. PlayStation, they're trash. They're a piece of shit. They're not doing that great either. But thanks to Phil Spencer, they've been able to have a steady, have a stagnant amount of PlayStations just selling and whatnot. PlayStation 5s are still somewhat selling because goofball gamers out there, just fucking idiots. They just buy a PlayStation because they think it's like it's the go-to or whatever. But with this Switch 2 coming out, and it's just going to have the power to run all these games, and it's better looking on the Switch 2, all of these games. We're already seeing video clips of like Street Fighter 6 looking better on the Switch than it does on the PlayStation 5. Even Cyberpunk 2077. So once that Switch 2 comes out, it's going to outperform these two. Hopefully Nintendo continues to pump out the awesome exclusives, and it's going to be game over for these other two guys, PlayStation 5 sales are going to drop big time. No one's going to want to buy that crap unless they're retarded. People are already not buying Xbox, so there you go. The Switch, the first Switch, Nintendo Switch, pretty much put a huge dent already in both of them guys. They completely outsold them. Vast majority of people bought them. That was like the no-brainer. Let's get this awesome gaming console that you could play on the go or on your TV or docked, whatever. Who cares about these other more powerful consoles, right? But you still had a decent amount of people buying the other two for its power and for its third party, right? Well, now with third party coming over to the Nintendo Switch 2, I don't see how anyone's going to be purchasing those other two consoles, wasting any bit of money on those other two consoles whatsoever. So I see the PlayStation 5 sales dying. I don't see a PlayStation 6 being made. I see PlayStation porting more of their games over to the Switch 2, and even going full third party for the most part, just to stay alive. Unless they just end up getting rid of the brand all entirely. Unless Sony gets rid of the brand all entirely. So anyways, yeah, PlayStation, they're panicking. They're putting out this survey for gamers to take. They want to know what people think about the Switch 2. And it's kind of funny because it's almost like they're just unintentionally promoting Switch 2 to their own consumers there. I mean, I'm wondering how many disgruntled PlayStation 5 owners who don't have anything to play are going to see that, and they're going to be like, you know what? Let me check out that Switch 2, actually. Let me check that out. Anyways, that's all I got for this topic.